You're a marathon runner, aren't you?
I just completed my first half marathon this past weekend.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Haven't done the marathon yet, but hopefully soon. But yes.
Okay, the half marathon. So
Yes.
how many miles is it, or kilometers? Is it measured in kilometers or miles?
I know it has miles, so it is 13.1 miles.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a half?
Yes, that's the half.
Wow. Okay. Today, I am interviewing Nayeli, future math teacher, hometown hero, and Charles Butt scholar. At OLLU, she's found her home, thriving as a campus ambassador and leader in the Bilingual Education Student Organization, or BESO. When she's not hitting the books, she's hitting the pavement, recently crushing the San Antonio Rock and Roll Half Marathon. Passionate, determined, and ready to make an impact. This is Nayeli. So Nayeli, again, welcome to Charlar con Chávez.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your background. Where are you from?
So I'm not local to San Antonio. I'm
Okay.
from a small southwest border town, Del Rio, Texas, about 2.5 hours roughly from here. But I am familiar with San Antonio. San Antonio was our weekend getaway, so I'm still familiar. It's a home away from home for me. I'm a math major for secondary education, getting my ESL certification with a minor in business as well, hoping to one day move up into administration with education.
Wow. Oh, that would be a fun career. I'm speaking from experience.
Yes, sir.
How did you find Our Lady of the Lake University?
One of my teachers from my high school actually recommended that I apply. I had no idea about Our Lady at all, never heard of it. And she advised me to apply. I did. I took a tour, and that's what kind of sold my decision to want to be able to come here.
Okay.
Mhm.
And why your major?
Math, because I like things that are planned out and that get from straight to point A to point B, no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's kind of how math is, just straightforward, straight to the point. So, and it's always also been very easy for me throughout high school, elementary. Math was a subject that I very much excelled in.
And you would say the same about statistics? Another version of math?
Statistic
Straightforward?
is very unique and
Okay.
it has its special characteristics.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorite maths. I prefer like algebra or calculus. Statistics is special, but it's there.
How many semesters of calc have you taken?
I currently just finished up Cal 1 and then I'll be taking
Wow.
Cal 2 next semester.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so you got into what, double integrals?
Yes, a little bit. Roughly
Little.
touched it. I think
Okay.
we're going to touch it a bit more next semester.
And triple integrals, what is that? Second or maybe even third semester of calculus?
Yeah, I haven't touched into that. That sounds a little scary. No, we haven't touched base with that, but for my plan, I'll only go up to calculus 2. So
Yeah.
after next semester, I'm kind of done.
And at what point and what was the moment or the moments that sparked your interest in education?
Growing up, I was the teacher's pet, so that had a big factor into it. Growing up, also my parents, I have no regrets with the way they raised me, but it was very much tough love. And whenever I got recognition or anything, that came from my teachers, not from my parents. From my parents, it was more of what was expected out of me, which, like I said, I don't regret it to this day because it's built me to the person that I am. However, that connection and that praise that I got from teachers is what I continue to long for and always looked forward to throughout my educational journey. And I saw what it did for me, and that's what I want to be exactly for future students.
And I understand that you love working with adolescents and youth.
Yes.
What about working with adolescents and youth?
I think that's just a very interesting age, to say the least, with their development. And nowadays with technology and social media, it's anxiety, depression, and teens and adolescents has increased so significantly because of all those factors. And so I just believe that that is the age that students really do need the most help, and we don't realize it at times. We kind of just like are always focused to the younger ones, which is not bad either. But for me, that is where my calling is, and to help them when they're struggling in those different situations that they go through at the age. I feel like there's a lot going on at that age, which people don't really realize.
And after math and secondary education, what's next for Nayeli?
Next is to go I really wanna go home to my own hometown,
Okay.
and to help kind of rebuild the district we have there. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of issues as I've grown older start to increase, and, I love my school district, but it could use some fixing,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to go back there and rebuild that district for the better for the students, and maybe, hopefully, one day, to be superintendent there. That is the
Mm.
end goal.
And what is it that you see on the ground that calls you and really tugs at your spirit to go back to Del Rio and help?
I love my little small town. I know some people in high school were like, "I'm so ready to get out of here." I wasn't. I was quite the opposite, which is partially why I also chose OLLU because it reflected a lot of my small town, that small
Mm-hmm.
community, those
Mm-hmm.
connections, those bonds is what I found here that was similar to my hometown. And so I love that about my hometown. And it's not just, everyone knows everyone knows everyone's secrets. No, it's the connections and the strong bonds that we have with knowing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a smile and wave you're going to get from a complete stranger, whether they know your name or not. Same thing, something I see here at OLLU, which I'm very grateful for. And so I do want to go back home. And for me, Del Rio is a very family oriented hometown for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I would love to raise my children.
Mm-hmm. And so in education, right, from funding to books to access
Mhm.
to completion to retention or attrition, there's a number of challenges within education. Which of those are you most passionate about?
Access for all, I will say, and standardized testing.
Mm,
Standardized testing is something
mhm,
I'm very passionate about. I don't exactly believe in standardized testing, and I've seen it affect children. Same thing with that increase in anxiety, test anxiety, especially among students. I believe more in alternative assessments, projects, presentations, anything
mhm,
like that that can still show that a student is intaking the content without just placing them, in front of a booklet or
mm.
a screen for the next 3, 4 hours. Not everyone works well in that environment, so just adjusting our classrooms and our assessments to meet the needs of all the students.
So Nayeli, you're a marathon runner, aren't you?
I just completed my first half marathon this past weekend.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Haven't done the marathon yet, but hopefully soon. But yes.
Okay. The half marathon. So
Yes.
how many miles is it or kilometers? Is it measured in kilometers or
I know
miles?
it has miles, so it is 13.1 miles.
Wow.
Yes,
That's a
sir.
half?
Yes, that's the
Oh,
half.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you prepare for that half marathon?
Well, I have been a runner for years throughout high
Okay.
school, middle
Okay.
school, ran cross country. That was just competitive 5Ks at the time. And when I got to college, I knew I didn't want to lose that. So I just continued running on my own. And eventually the opportunity came around to run the rock and roll that
Hmm.
was here this
Hmm.
past weekend.
Hmm.
And I took it and I took time, out of my day, out of my week, always to be in the gym, whether it was lifting weights or outside running. And I just trained to the best of my abilities and I was able to do it. So.
And so when you run, do you wear headphones, listen to music? Do you have a particular routine while you're running?
Yes, I have to have music. I
Okay.
have
Okay.
to. It's just kind of helps me to stay focused. I get a lot that I have a very straight face. Just because I'm just like in a complete different zone and a different mindset when I'm running. Running is more than just, an activity for me. It is
Mm-hmm.
like my stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why sometimes I'll look like maybe angrier or a little too focused,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's my way of just letting go of everything in that moment.
How many times a week do you run?
Just about 5 to 7. It just depends on my availability
Okay.
for that week. I would try when I was training to run 5 days a week.
Okay. And how many distance or how much distance per run?
It varied.
Okay.
So it varied with my training. I was obviously building up my mileage. At the max, I was running 30 plus a week for my marathon training specifically.
Now, if so you listen to music
hmm
when you run, if you were to play one track and one track only on that half marathon, 13 miles, what track would it be?
Uh, that's a hard one. Um, I don't think I could choose a track, but I think anything religious, because I am religious myself.
Mhm.
And when things get hard or that race started to get at that hard point, that's when I knew it was time for playlist switch and it went into that religious music, and that just for sure always calms my heart, calms my mind, and just keeps me in that zone that I need to be. And so if it was just any single religious song, I think for sure that's something I could listen to throughout the entire race.
Okay. And keep you going and beating everyone, right?
Yes,
on that
sir.
half marathon.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're also you have a really nice scholarship, right, to attend Our Lady of the Lake
Yes, sir.
University, including a Charles Butt Foundation scholarship.
Yes, sir.
How is that helping you?
It's helping me tremendously. So I am a twin, and I have she goes to UTSA, so our parents were sending not only one but two students off to college at
Wow.
one time. So cost was definitely something that was in the mind for all of us, and I grew up, knowing that I didn't want my parents to pay. I wanted them to pay as little as possible. So I looked for the opportunities, and that's when I found the Charles Butt Foundation Scholarship for Aspiring Teachers, which is gratefully now the scholarship I have now. And it's basically covering up what my presidential scholarship doesn't cover. So it covers that remainder. And I am now not paying for anything. So there's no stress on me. There's no stress on my parents. And it's really nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that allows you to take on so many activities,
Yes,
right,
sir.
on and off campus. Tell me about the various activities that you're a part of.
Yes. So, with the scholarship itself, it comes with a lot of mentoring and leadership opportunities.
Okay.
Last semester specifically, I got to attend a TAFE conference, so Texas Association for Future Educators. I got to attend the conference and recruit high school students to come to OLLU and come to OLLU's,
you.
join OLLU's education program, which I love. I am a tour guide here on campus, so I love talking to people, love having those interactions. So I loved that. And one of the girls that was actually competing advanced to the national level. So then we got the opportunity in the summer to actually travel to Washington, D.C. and attend the TAFE conference there, as well as explore D.C. itself. So that was an opportunity I'm completely grateful for, because I also did not pay for anything. My scholarship covered all those funds, travel.
Wow. And where was this conference, the TAFE conference?
The first one, the regional one, was in Round Rock. So it
Okay.
was at the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock,
Okay.
which I've been and I love. So that was a great opportunity as well. All costs covered as well.
Okay.
And then summer was in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And so also you're one of the student leaders in the Bilingual Education Student Organization,
Yes,
or
sir.
BESO.
Yes.
What does BESO do?
So BESO advocates just for bilingual education. You don't exactly have to be a bilingual education major or minor. I am not. I don't speak it very well. I'm not. It's not like
Okay.
a language to me. It's
Okay.
not my second language. It's not my first. And so I think a lot of people have that misunderstanding that, you have to be the major, minor, you need to know Spanish. No, you just simply have to be an advocate for it, because at the end of the day, one of the ways that all of our students are going to be able to have access to education is if it is in those different languages and their own native language, which is in especially the West Side community and the San Antonio area, Spanish and English. So just advocating for that makes you eligible to a part of our club and our organization. So that's what we do. We are just continuously advocating and throwing events to bring awareness to bilingual education.
And OLLU has such a rich and deep history with bilingual education and the advocacy of bilingual education. Does that inspire you to be more of an advocate also?
Yes, it does, because especially coming from a small border town, yes, I, know English. I grew up learning English, but I did see students and peers and got to interact with students that, that struggled because the classroom wasn't being adjusted to their the assistance that they needed in the classroom. I don't think that the students were ever incapable of, completing the work or completing the work that was on the same level as other students in the class. It was just that adjustments needed to be made for their circumstances, because, they are coming from their home that they are at more hours than they are at school, where they're speaking completely Spanish. So it's hard to switch and go straight to school where they're speaking to you in straight English, all the way through 8 hours a day. It's hard to just get thrown around like that into completely different environments your whole life. And so coming here in OLLU and seeing, especially something that I saw very in the very beginning going here was mass that we have here. It's bilingual, which I think is amazing because you can see the small things that are being done, but there are for sure efforts being made here to make sure that we advocate for all students and all native languages.
And it starts with excellent student leaders like yourself, Nayeli.
Thank you.
So, iced or hot coffee?
Iced.
Yeah. Medium or dark roast?
Medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a region of the world that you like your coffee to be from? So let's say Mexico, South America versus Africa?
Mexico.
Okay. What
Sure.
about Mexican coffee? By the way, me too. We love Mexico too.
Just rich in flavor, I gotta say. It's probably one of the best, and I think it's what I grew up with, so the taste is familiar. It tastes like home. It's that simple.
Drip coffee, espresso, or a flavored coffee?
Flavored.
Okay.
Flavored.
And what flavor?
It varies, but I usually kind of just go off of what I'm given in my own home. Donut shop, to be exact.
Okay. Oh, that one is pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, that one is good. Do you drink coffee before a race or before you run?
No. I personally in my own body, no, I can't.
Yeah.
It won't be good for me.
And what's your next marathon?
I haven't thought too far ahead.
Okay.
I know that the next thing I want to do is either another half outside of San Antonio. They say that you're not supposed to run in the same location twice. So I'm trying to find somewhere nearby to do either a half or dedicate myself to training for that full. So.
And do you know why that is? I had never heard that.
It's just an advice I heard from
Okay.
someone I joined. I went to one of the run groups that they have here in San Antonio, and some guy who has experience, he's run like 10 plus marathons. He just highly advised. He was like, just don't do it. Like, take the opportunity, use the marathons as opportunities to travel, because at the end of the day, you'll run and stay there for a few days, stay there for a week, and explore the the location that you're in. So.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, what questions do you have for me, Nayeli?
Why OLLU? Why coming to OLLU to be president? I feel like there could have been more opportunities for you. So why did you choose OLLU?
Oh, this place is so amazing, as you know.
Yes.
Right? Our students are first class, our faculty first class, our staff first class. But when the search firm of the presidential search firm a few years ago, when they contacted me, apparently they said that I was on some Latino leaders list. Don't know. Didn't know that existed. I still haven't seen it. But the more that I learned about Our Lady of the Lake University, the more that I fell in love with this university, from the mission set forth by the Congregation of Divine Providence. And then I met our students, and then I met our faculty, and then our staff, and then I saw the campus. And higher education nowadays is such a tricky space, just moving so fast, that it's the people of Our Lady of the Lake that really pulled me in.
Do you have any experience inside the classroom? And if you don't, would you want to gain more experience?
I do have experience in the classroom. At my previous institution, I went through the tenure process.
Oh, okay.
And I remember in the first couple of semesters, my course evals were low. And I had a mentor who said, no, look, you continue to try things, right? But document what you're trying, learn what you're trying. And he, knowing that I'm a scientist, he asked me and challenged me to treat it like a science experiment, so that I could better track cause effect, right? And so before too long, honestly, within a couple semesters, I was earning all perfect scores in my course evals. I love teaching. Nayeli, I miss teaching. If you know anyone, put a plug in for me, please. Put in a good word.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to be back in the classroom. Maybe one class, maybe two classes a year, but I really want to be back in the classroom. I love teaching, or as I say, facilitating learning.
I have never heard that advice, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
What other questions do you have for me?
Do you have a connection to the West Side? Obviously, besides working here for a few years, do you have any other connection personally to this West Side community?
You know, I'm not from San Antonio. I've been in San Antonio for nearly 3 years now. The neighborhood that I was born and raised in is very similar to the west side of San Antonio. I was born and raised in a neighborhood in Denver
Okay.
named Swansea. And the 80216 zip code, Swansea in Denver, very much like the west side.
Okay.
I see myself in the people of the west side. My parents were just like many parents of the west side. Many of the infrastructural challenges that I was born and raised in and seeing are still in place here. And that motivates me to continue to show up for our students, for our families, to bring my best self, my whole self to our community. Now, I have a couple questions for you
Okay.
as we wrap up.
Yes, sir.
The first one, and they're both fairly easy. The first one is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be someone that advocates for education, and it's more than likely going to have to be at that administrator level or higher. So somewhere in that area, I will very much be satisfied and happy with.
And before I ask my last question, have you ever created a resume, the resume that you would that would be your resume in like 20 years? Have you ever done that experiment?
No, I'm scared too. I'm okay. I'll wait it out.
Hey, try it.
I've done something similar in high school with my education class. Wasn't exactly a resume, but it was kind of something as if I were to present it. If I were to be applying for like the district at the time, like tell me about you, tell me about in the perspective if I had already like graduated from high school, where are you getting your degree from? Where are you getting your work experience from? So it was very similar, but sometimes I don't like to think that far ahead because I'll overthink. So that's why I'm telling you probably
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I'll just like stress myself out. I'll just kind of
Yeah.
go and be in the present and
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. Because you do have a bright future ahead of you and a long road. So yeah, don't take it day by day, year by year,
Yes, sir.
quarter by quarter. Last question for you. What kind of ancestor do you want to be?
Ooh, interesting. Um, I want people to. That's an interesting question. That's not something I've been asked before. I want people to look at what I've done, and same thing, I think that I look at, past educators and advocates for education and people like Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, like look at what I've done and use that as inspiration and just show, that anyone can accomplish anything. It doesn't have to be someone of power, someone of a certain race, someone of a certain gender. If you put your mind to it, it can be done, and that's just as simple as it is. And I think that's something that needs to be spread a lot more. Anyone can do anything, and it's that simple. It doesn't really need to get more complicated than that.
Nayeli Cordova, you are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Charla con Chávez. As a sign of my appreciation, I have some Charla con Chávez swag for you.
Thank you.
Maybe for when you're out there running and doing
Yes,
20
sir.
miles of run, and a t-shirt for you.
Thank
Charla
you,
con
sir.
Chávez t-shirt. Also for your jogs.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being here at Our Lady of the Lake University, and thank you for being just a stellar, just a thought leader, a leader for your peers. Thank you.
Thank you for
Nayeli.
having me.